Well, for the first time in a long time, that game lived up to the hype. Very, very impressive performance from both offenses. Pretty surprised at the way that it all came down. We're going to talk about the ins and the outs and everything else. Long story short, I'll just give you guys some thoughts off the top of my head. Historic game for output, that's for sure. Disappointed in the way both defenses worked out or didn't work out, to tell you the truth. I'm trying to get the mic out of my face here so you guys can actually see me. Folks are starting to join. Before we get started far down the path, for those that are watching live, make sure you hit the question mark before your question. Some of you are already doing that. That's great. It just helps me find it. Just a brief notice, we got something new. If you want to do a super chat, like if you want to pin your comment to the top of the chat, you can do that. It's that little $ thing. It costs a donation or whatever when you do it. If you just want to chip into the RGR fund, feel free. This game comes down to just trying to play enough defense to hold them back. And man, it was an impressive battle. I was pretty concerned about what the Chiefs were doing in the first half. I mean, the first quarter even. They started to figure it out, and they came back. I mean, the defense got, by my count, 3 stops that were critical in the fourth quarter. And really the tail of the tape all comes back down to turnovers. And you can have some frustration a little bit with Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think that it's anything terrible. We'll talk about it in depth as we get going here, but first 100 people in, thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Tough game to watch. I realize that that's hard to get over, especially the back and forth. But if you take a step back for a second, this team never quit once. And I even told my wife, who's a Broncos fan, by the way, and she will echo me. In years past, this team would have folded. Sure. Let somebody score 40 on them, they'd have folded again. Not a question in my mind, but there's something with this team. Yes, they had their problems tonight, but they didn't have any quit in them, and I think that's really important. This is still a very young team in some spots. I don't think anybody should feel like this is killing the season in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I think this makes them stronger because they realize to go up against the best, they understand where they're deficient and how they have to change. Whether they can change or not, that's a whole different story. We'll talk about that in depth this week on the podcast, and we'll hit it some tonight too. So I got plenty of time. My kids are still up. So, hey, before we get any farther down the line, who is it tonight? Paradox. Thank you for your brewed IPA. Cheers. I think we all need this. I had one earlier. I usually don't drink during games, but I think this called for it. So, let's go Cards 04. Be alive. Don't get too depressed. It's just a football game. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you like the show. We're going to go through everything, folks. And yeah, there were a ton of penalties. I am not one to usually complain about the officiating because, quite frankly, it's something that the team can't control. And I always have a tendency to not comment on it because it just feels like whining to me. If the refs are going to call it strict, then you got to play strict. That's just the way that it works. But I will say this particular game felt like it was called not only strict, but unevenly. If you're going to call a tight game and you're not going to let the DBs grab or make any of those little small details in their coverage, okay, but you got to call it both ways. If you're going to let guys come in late or lead with the head, you got to call it both ways. That's what it comes down to for me. So that's where I'm at. And I know Chris Greer, you already said something about the refs. I get it. That's on the top of a lot of people's minds. So, are we scared to run the football? I don't think it's a scared thing. And we'll talk about the end of the game here in a bit. I got to pull up my notes too. I use a huge TV for this. And sometimes it gets a little bit away from me. So, the coaches have tendencies. And I think that's what not running the ball, especially in the fourth quarter, came down to. And I mean, literally before that interception, one of the first of the two there at the end, I literally told my wife, You have a minute 40 or a minute 30 or something. Just run the ball and take 40 seconds off the clock. And that's exactly when that happened. And it's not that they're scared. It's that they are focused on making those points, scoring those points, a little bit too fired up. So, Gunslinger. Okay. We'll start with the comments and everything. Because there's a ton here and I don't want to let you guys down. So we'll start talking about them. Overall, I thought this team played hard. I thought they didn't show quit. I thought there were some mistakes. Clearly, Cam Irving was overmatched. The offensive line in general had a rough night. The tackles too. Ebukam, I didn't even know I should even worry about him before. A lot of my things in the game plan came true, though. Let's see if the camera will focus on me again. There we go. Gerald Everett, sneaky good. Doesn't help that Dan Sorensen was covering him either. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about that too. Might be the last time I ever mentioned that guy's name, by the way. Too many mistakes. You're absolutely right. A lot of mistakes. Again, trying to play disciplined. I thought they showed enough against Gurley early that's part of why McVay went away from him. Yeah, it was smart on his part to hold him in reserve, come back to him late. That's for sure. But the Chiefs put that in his head because they played tough. And you saw them come out and they used the base defense more. Like I thought that they should. I'm going to have to look at the snap counts and see just how often they were in base. But I'll have more on that next week, So, and by the way, happy Thanksgiving. Going to say it now. I'm going to take a little bit of time because it's a Monday night and I won't even get the all 22 until like tomorrow night. And then I have family. Going to do film room. It'll probably be a day late. Look for it maybe on Thanksgiving Day or the day after. But we have the whole bye week as well. So got plenty for you. Who leads the league in interceptions? Yeah, I got nothing off the top of my head. I think the leader had 4 or 5 when I last looked. So I don't think anybody's going to take over the lead on that. So Joe Cunningham, how are you? Aaron Morrow, how are you? Appreciate all you guys watching. A lot of people have texted or tweeted at me. This was a game that brought non-football fans into football. I think that's really important. And I think it's converting even some Broncos fans of all people. Ask my wife and some of the people around here. Despite the outcome, the resiliency, the effort, the magic that Pat Mahomes can still produce is infectious. And it's going to be something they can rely on. Yes, the turnovers were bad. Let's start with that. So a lot of those. The turnovers were tough, especially at the end. Obviously, they killed the game. But, if the turnovers hadn't turned into points, it would have been a different story. That Ebukam return was impressive and lucky. And I'll tell you this, the defense made some stops down the stretch. Both of them did. In fact, I remarked in the fourth quarter that, that you give up 90 points and all of a sudden you decide to get stops. Well, it worked out. And those turnovers I don't count as stops because that's not physically stopping your opponent from getting a first down. That's making a great play in an opportunistic way that changes it and gives your offense the ball back or scores for you. So I don't really count that as a stop. You didn't stop them in their tracks. You took the ball away from them, which is actually better, but it's a little bit different in my book. So I hope that made sense. Plenty of mistakes were made. Yeah, Otis, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm not going to get into the refs and what they may have been thinking. I'll tell you this, putting an all-star group of referees together on a short schedule is ludicrous, and the NFL should be embarrassed because I think communication amongst the referees was a problem for them tonight. Pat got greedy. Mark Schuler, I wouldn't say it was greedy. I think Pat has ultimate confidence in what he can do, and I think he bit off more than he could chew a couple times. I mean, the fact that last interception was he was hit on the play. Another one, it was tipped. I mean, there was enough that it's him trying. I think he felt the pressure to keep up. And he's a young guy. He's got his confidence is at a certain level, but he does push himself sometimes. We see that early in games when he gets a little overhyped, maybe misses some throws high. We've seen that through the season. It's going to calm down. I mean, he's 23 years old. Chiefs are in good shape for a long time to come. Honestly, when you take a step back from this game, these franchises are going to be at the top of their games in offense for a long time, particularly because of these two quarterbacks and these two coaches. And the combination of the two is what's going to do the deal. Watkins started the game, clearly wasn't ready to play the whole thing. I think that changes this game a little bit. Although, I've been a big proponent of Chris Conley and what he's capable of when given the chance, and I think he showed you a lot tonight. If Sammy re-aggravated that foot, which I know the pressers are about to start, I haven't had any update on that yet. If Sammy's going to be out for a while, I think they're capable hands. It's about designing the plays so that it takes advantage of what he does well. And I think that can come. I would have liked to see Kareem Hunt run the ball more. I think that's on Andy. Andy has his tendencies. He likes to throw the ball. I thought you saw Kareem do well. The Rams defense tightened down there in the fourth quarter, and they weren't getting those chunk plays anymore, but there's still that physical wear that it puts on him. And if you could have gotten Aaron Donald a little bit more tired or Ebicam a little bit more tired, wear them down physically, that changes the scope of this game in the fourth quarter. And it makes them not so easily capable of making these gigantic plays or beating their blocker every play and getting in Mahomes' face. The pressure on Mahomes is what caused the bulk of these turnovers. And that's what cost them the game in the end, in my opinion. The fact that the defense couldn't stop anybody for 2.5 quarters didn't help any. But the personnel is what it is. The coordinator is what it is. It's not going to change until one of those things changes. Eric Berry coming back after the bye. Michael Rodriguez, I heard that rumor too. I've seen it reported. I have no confirmation. None of the guys that I've talked to that actually have contact with the team have confirmed that at all either. So let's just hold our breath and we'll see when Berry shows up. I thought it was key that he was there and he was coaching and he kept Skandrick on pace, I thought, tonight. I thought Skandrick came back after a really, really rough quarter. I thought he came back and made some plays. I thought he settled down and I think, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I think Booker McFarland actually said it correctly. Using your feet rather than your hands to play coverage. I'll never give you any positives about Booker again, so just be prepared for that. We'll get to the questions here. Sorry if I'm rambling a little bit. Let me scroll and find one. Cheers. Am I encouraged by Chris Jones? I'm encouraged mostly that Chris Jones seemed to be taking charge and firing that defense up, talking to them, pressing on the DBs, getting in their face a little bit. And I think that's key. It's not just good enough to be an elite player. And Chris Jones at this point really is an elite player. So is Justin Huston. And D Ford is pushing that as well. I thought it was hilarious that somebody called D Ford the best defender on the field with Justin Huston out there. That's kind of silly. But having that presence, having him take that next step forward to lead outside of his position group and outside of the guys up front, I thought that was key. Chris is a great athlete, and he's got that string of sacks going. I thought I was confident he would have a good performance, but taking on that leadership, I think, is the biggest takeaway for what he did really well tonight. Yeah, Paxton, I hear you about the changes to the defense that need to come in the offseason. There will be people available. I will say that. There's going to be options. You've heard me talk about Rex Ryan. I think he makes a difference on this defense and makes it more aggressive. I even think Todd Bowles can make a difference, and I don't think he's going to have a job for much longer anyway. There were bad calls, yes. There's no way around that. Thoughts on Marcus Peters being a punk? Marcus talks a lot of trash, but he also calls it fairly honestly. I will say this. Marcus Peters didn't make many plays tonight, even the interceptions. They were both on either bad throws or pressured throws or things that went awry, and he happened to be standing in the right place. The first one he was beat on. The second one he just happened to be standing alone in his zone on an underthrown pass that the guy was knocked at the line of scrimmage before he let go of the ball. So those were opportunistic. Marcus didn't make those. Let's make a distinction there before he or some Rams fan starts talking about how great he played, because he didn't. Chiefs are undisciplined. Yes, they are young. They are undisciplined. Their priorities have to get better. That goes unsaid. You know what? And I've seen several people say this, and I just want to take a second. Skandrick did have a chance to seal that game had he made that interception. but that was a heck of a play to get his hands on it. And it was a shoestring. He could have had that, but man, there's a reason he doesn't play wide receiver. For a DB in that position, I thought he made a heck of a play, and that should be rewarded. I don't think we should hold that against him for costing the game because he didn't make an opportunistic play. He still made a very good play. I haven't seen Mark Schuler again. I haven't seen anything specific to Sammy. I'll let you know. We're going to talk to Matt Derrick here in a little bit for the podcast. So you guys keep an eye out for that. We'll be recording late, obviously, tonight, but it'll be up by morning for your drive. It'll be up later tonight. But Matt's going through some of that and getting official word, and we'll talk with him here in a little while. It was a fun game. I'm glad you said that, Eric Townsley. That's a good point. Would Eric Berry have made a difference in this game? Yes. Eric Berry's the best guy in this defense, and I am a huge Justin Huston guy. But Eric Berry's the best player this defense has on its roster. If he were out there, yes, he would have made a difference. Exactly. And, Jake S., that's a very good point. They got 20 points off of turnovers. They ain't going to get that in the Super Bowl, I don't think. Do I see lingering effects? I thought Dorian O'Daniel had a quiet game, and I think that's a good thing. I think he saw a few things that surprised him. He let a couple of guys get away from him, but I think he understands. And I think that's huge going forward because I saw Reggie play some good downs. They started with Hitch and Dorian out there, and it worked at first, especially when they were able to stop Gurley early with Hitch and Dorian on the field. That was a great thing. And to be able to bring in Ragland later to be more of a hammer, that worked out well. I think that sets tone as well. But that's a good takeaway. I thought Eric Murray had a couple of bad plays, and he had a couple of great ones. So, again, the up and down of the safety position. Sorensen had a couple of good plays and then two pretty poor ones. So, I mean, it's, again, asking him to do what he's not capable of doing. And covering a guy like Everett, who is a good athlete, and I talked about him in the game plan video. He is a guy that we should have been watching for to make that kind of play because he is that athlete. And against a suspect secondary like this, it was a ripe opportunity for him. The fact that it was Sorensen, I was a little surprised by because Sorensen has enough body to jam up and body a tight end, and especially a receiving type tight end, and keep him from getting a free release. And again, when the defense started to do better, it was because Bob backed off the secondary and had the corners play looser. And that worked. Not what I would have done. I would have taken the more aggressive approach. You can do one of two things: either back them off or jam the crap out of them. And that's what I would have done because it takes the tone up a notch. It makes you dominant in their eyes in terms of being more physical. David Valentine, rematch at the Super Bowl, and we got it no problem. I said kind of something similar. I think this is a Super Bowl preview. I think these teams can get there. I think the Saints match up against the Rams a little bit better than the Chiefs do. So don't even know if the Rams are going to make it. That is something that's going to be fun to watch too. But I think what you saw in the progression from where the Chiefs were trying to fight to keep up with the Patriots weeks and weeks ago, right? And then you see this. You didn't see the stumbling. Yes, it's a rough start as well, but you didn't see the stumbling late until the pressure came, until those things forced Mahomes into that. But I think I saw progression as a team as a whole. I think mistakes were made by the coaching staffs late, particularly McVay. I mean, wow, that could have cost them dearly. Going to hit more questions before I get off on a tangent. Sorry. Sorensen. Yeah, okay, we're going to stop that. What do you think of the play calls at the end? Okay, perfect. This is where I was going. About a minute and a half left, minute 40 left. Just as that play that ended up in the first interception for Mahomes in the fourth quarter, that should have been a run play. You had plenty of time there. You've been able to move the ball all game, and particularly in the quarter. You needed to lay some wood, put a hit on the defenders, knock them down a little bit, and just run the ball once. Didn't have to be a lot, just once. And Andy didn't do that. Got caught up in play design, how he's attacking the secondary, and just kind of forgot about Kareem again. Flipped the ball over. Sean McVay, little Andy Reid, as I'm now going to call him, did the exact same thing. And when you have the two best running backs in the league, and nothing against Alvin Kamara, but he's a pass catcher that runs routes out of the backfield as far as I'm concerned. Use them. You can't forget about running the ball. It's just the way that it is. And somebody in here Tom Brady's calling me a sore loser. I'm not the biggest fan, man. I'm an analyst first. You want to start throwing names at me, I'll just throw you out. So watch your mouth. Calm down, everyone. We're 9-2. Jeff Jenkins, that is a very good point. This was a setback. This was a stumbling point. No impact on the Chiefs' season. They are still up in where they need to be as far as the AFC. Still looking good for a first-round bye. All key points. And now they realize that they've beaten the teams that they need to beat. They've stumbled against the Patriots. They stumbled against the Rams, two of the best teams in the league. Well, we can argue about what the Pats have done since they played them. But they realize best on best, they are right there to hang with them. And I think that's key for a young group, especially the quarterback and some of the key defenders that are rookies as well. Noddy jumped off sides. He's a great player. I really like how he's been playing this season. But that's a couple of times. He gets a little overexcited. This is experience. This is wisdom coming as a rookie. And I think that's a great thing for this team down the stretch. Don't know what happened with Travis. Travis did not have his best game. A couple of drops. I don't know if it's concentration or what. Some of the announcers and some of the other people have hinted at me that Marcus Peters did something to mess up Travis Kelce. No. Marcus Peters didn't slow down Travis Kelce at all. Marcus was trailing him most of the time. The one time he bodied up on him that I saw on the broadcast, Travis beat him soundly. This is not about Marcus affecting Travis. This was about Travis. Why don't I get into the refs? Because there ain't nothing I can do about it. I can tell you how the Chiefs could have played better and won, but the refs I can't change. Do you think the screen could have made a difference at the end? It could have. The speed that the Rams defense was showing, though, they were flying around. And I don't think, whatever reason, maybe it's because of the linemen and they're a little shell-shocked because of the pass rush, but trying to move them out and get that kind of timing play to work, I wouldn't have been terribly optimistic about it. So it may have been worth trying earlier in the quarter, but not down at the end, in my opinion. Doodles, will Mahomes get to 50 touchdowns this season? Well, what do you end up, 37 tonight? Sounds like it. I don't know. I'm not going to go out on a limb. I think I capped him at 28 preseason when we talked about it. So what do I know? Do you think that was a fumble on the Mahomes throw? I'm not sure which one it was, but no, the one that I remember that they called back, his arm was moving forward. That wasn't anywhere close. That was one of the worst calls of the night. Still confident? Yes, you should be. Why was Sorensen one-on-one as a corner? Because he was on a tight end. That was a straight man matchup. They had cover two behind him. And honestly, I can't really blame him for that. That's a decent coverage. Honestly, it's my favorite coverage for this team. They like to play their safeties. And if you're going to put a safety on a tight end, that makes sense, especially a taller one. Sorensen is the tallest safety that they have. If Barry's not able to go, he's the guy that makes the most sense to be physical with the guy early in the route. And I think that makes sense. And playing too deep behind him, I think is a great combination when you have corners that are getting beat on. It's a nice way to give yourself some safety back there. Cover with man under, cover two man is my favorite coverage for this team and its personnel. And I think it's the thing that will work for them best down the stretch. Do you think we should expect a better outcome during the playoffs? I do. I think this defense has taken steps forward in the last couple of weeks. And despite setbacks today, I think they showed some grit and I think they will take more steps forward. Stephen Garlington, really? Come on, man. You're just trying to set me off. Yeah. I'll check the film for some of those things and see if there's anything that makes me feel like they need to change that up. But Barry's a great cheerleader. That's great. Yeah, you're out of here, dude. I'm done with those comments. So you can be upset with Eric Berry if you want. That's on you. Until he's physically ready to play, I don't have a problem with it. It's going to be what it is. Eric Berry wins this. His presence, I think, changes this game to a win tonight. If that doesn't happen until the Super Bowl, I'm okay with that too. So this is one of those rare nights where I try to keep the analyst hat on, but there are teams that I definitely pull for. Obviously, the Chiefs are one of them. This is one that kind of gets me up where people are kind of, especially Rams fans, are throwing dirt on some of the things that the Chiefs are having to deal with. And one of them is Barry. And I think that's unfair. A player's got to mind his health. Their careers are not long. They need to take care of everything that they can. And yeah, I'm getting all kinds of stuff. So let's see where we're at. Why can't Andy understand clock management? Andy gets concentrated on other things. I'll tell you that. If Skandrick made that pick, it's a win. Ryan Vogel, Lucas is a good question. Lucas has shown, especially in the physical part of the game, run support, playing the bigger tight ends, that he's not quite ready. He's still learning the defense. They threw him in there because they had to earlier. Murray's still the better pick as far as I can tell, and I think that's definitely how the Chiefs feel. So that's a good place to start. But I'm gonna have a sip here because there's more questions. Mahomes was trying to get to Tyreek Hill on that last play, and I think it was a mistake. I think he was trying to bite off more than he could. Obviously, it was underthrown. He didn't know he was going to get hit. He was trying to get that ball out before there was any contact to slow his arm down. And I think if he isn't contacted, that's a touchdown. I think the trajectory of the ball told me that was going to be able to get over the coverage that Tyreek had beaten. Again, if he just hadn't gotten hit on the pass, I think that would have been fine. A little more caution, maybe. There was still time on the clock. That's my thing. Like, both Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes felt like they were rushed at the end of the game when I didn't think they had to be. I thought they had plenty of time for the yardage chunks that they were able to get, and I felt like they rushed themselves a little bit. And I would have liked to see not only Kareem run the ball at least once, but also a little bit more, like pull that ball down and protect it. He did show that, Patrick showed that they were getting to him, and he started to protect the ball with two hands. And that's the way that he was starting to react to it. And I thought that was mature, and that was good. But at the end of the game, pressure on, trying to get that win, he pushed it a little farther outside the envelope than he was able to take care of, is all it was. I think he'll be more mature about that next time it happens. And honestly, I think he'll be more successful next time. Next question. Adam Doherty, LDT, when is he coming back? He is coming back. I am confident he is the guy that's probably going to make it. And I think that's probably a good thing. Specifically, nothing against Wiley. I think Wiley's played great for the situation that he's in, the experience level that he has. But I think LDT makes a difference in the pass rush tonight. I think that gives them enough to keep Pat cleaner enough that some of these plays didn't happen, the turnovers in particular, and the big plays at the end. Everybody's jumping around. Let's see. What else you got here? I wish they used Sherman a little bit more. I can't really argue that the offense wasn't effective. I wish they would have worn down the defense a little bit more. That's my whole point. Yeah, Tyreek was penalized for that, which is kind of silly since he's been doing it the whole season. But, if you do it in a defender's face as you're scoring a touchdown, that's going to get called. That's pretty consistent. Rodney Lewis. Lucas would not have been able to cover Gerald Everett any better than Sorensen did. I'll tell you that. If he had tried to body him at the line, he would have got beat badly. So hold off on thinking that Lucas is the cure for everything, because he isn't. The only cure that's coming is Eric Berry. Yes, Mahomes is still the real deal. He will still be excellent. He will learn from this as he learned from the Patriots' mistakes, and he will be a better quarterback for it. I guarantee you that. Do I think Bob played light at times? Yeah, I thought he backed off. It actually worked tonight. The Rams are kind of a finesse team. I think giving him that extra space bought the corners some space, as well as the safety, and it did end up working. I would have gone the other way, but that's me, and that's why I'm not the defensive coordinator yet. Rex, call me when it's my time. Yeah, if Sammy had been there, I agree with you, Kenneth. If Sammy had been still in the game, that would have worked. I think that would have made a difference. Who else? Well, bad O-line play hurt us later in the season. Only against very, very few teams. You've seen them handle teams pretty well. Jacksonville, everybody in the AFC West. I think this team is a unique matchup problem for the Chiefs right now with their injuries along the O-line and the type of D-line that the Rams have. So if they get to the Super Bowl, and that's the only time they could play the Rams again, if they are still down 2 starters on the offensive line, yeah, that will be problematic, and you'll have to see them do more. I think they could have moved the pocket on some designed rollouts to try to help him there, and I think that's something they'll definitely look at next time should they get the matchup against the Rams again. Oh, can I dab? No, man, I can barely two-step. Should have gotten the sausage. Yeah, you throw a ball in the sausage, I think you're in good shape, but I am Rift Keeper. I am going to take a good hard look at the film. I feel like O'Daniel played well. Quiet, not great, not bad, because he didn't stand out to me a whole lot. I thought he looked fluid. I thought he kept Gurley in check a couple of times, and I thought that was the big key. Had they allowed Todd Gurley to get going at the end, it would have been pretty crazy and way worse than what the Chiefs had this time. So I thought that was very important. They did that. So. Even Reed talked about the officiating. Okay, well, hey, thanks for updating me, Russ. I appreciate that. Hard for me to listen when I'm doing this. Okay, questions. I'll finish off the rest of your questions and we'll call it a night. And I'll go get the podcast done with Matt and Chris too. First down instead of the deeper plays. No, Chiefs first night. I don't think so. I think that's what makes him unique and special. If these were design plays that had the underneath that were wide open, there are a couple of times tonight he could have hit that, but it takes away from what makes him special, makes this offense really that dynamic. And the dynamicism, having players that can get behind the defense actually opens up the lower levels, and I think that's important. So I wouldn't try to coach that out of him. I have not heard about Skip Bayless. I don't listen to that guy. Over 500 people in here. Yeah, good point, Aaron. Yeah, we just dipped under, but hey, 500 folks in here tonight. That's great. Somebody tell the Star that they can come over if they want me to start running theirs. He is a young Favre, Scott Conklin. I think that's a very good approximation, to tell you the truth. Joe Cunningham. Yes, I am doing content this week. I do have a couple of things cooked up. I'm hoping I can debut the new intro. I've been working on it. I've been trying to learn some Adobe Premiere skills that I don't have. But yeah. If I can get that done this week, I'll do that. I'll definitely have film room probably Thursday or Friday this week. Obviously, no game plan, but I'll do some updates and I'll take a look. Maybe I'll do 2 film rooms. That seems to be what everybody likes the most. I did a poll on the community tab. I'd like to get the community tab going so that we can talk more, not just in this chat. If you guys like that, make some comments over there. Super chat is going in here too, so you can always post something that'll always stay at the top of the chat if you want to try that out. That's something new too. YouTube keeps giving me new features, and I'm trying to figure them out as I go. So bear with me a little bit on that. I'm not sure how all of it works. I'm still learning this a little bit. But offensive left side, Cam Irving had a terrible night. He's overmatched. What are you going to do? It's Aaron Donald. Like Fisher against JJ in years past, that's just been the way that it is. So not much that you can do about that. He'll rebound. He'll be fine. The next matchup against Donald is going to be tough. Doodles Tool. Yeah, I'm Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter. You can always find me there. 2 losses, 6 points total. Good point, David. I like that. Sarah Essex. No, I don't feel Mahomes choked. He pushed it too far. I don't think he choked at all. I thought it was in it to the very end. The Raiders are going to get whooped up on, I'm pretty sure. So don't feel bad for the Raiders. They're going to be all right. Did the Chiefs give a blueprint on how to slow down Gurley? They did pretty well. Some of it was play calling too, though. I think McVay made some mistake in not emphasizing him more. Does Eric Bieniemy take over for Andy in a few years? I don't think so, Nathan. Eric's never been a head coach. I think he will get that opportunity eventually. I don't think it'll be in Kansas City. I don't think Andy's going anywhere. He has a unique relationship with this quarterback, and this is your quarterback of the future. I can see Andy not leaving until Patrick does, to tell you the truth. So we'll see. Kingdom Man, he choked, huh? Okay, well, he was trying to do his job. Everybody's got an opinion. That's just not mine. practices during the bye week historically. No, they got to give guys time off, recuperate, go away, get some downtime. Don't think about football. I think they should be in tomorrow for therapy. And they should get, I believe the next day they'll be gone. They'll probably be gone for about a week. And then they come back and they start like a regular game process prep, they'll probably come back a little bit early, watch film on Tuesday and start in on Wednesday on install. So that's what you can expect. The scariest game moving forward is still the Chargers, although the Chargers went down this weekend. So there's not a whole lot there. So I think they're in very good shape going forward. It's about fixing the issues. So you have to get to the point where you have to defend teams like the Saints or the Rams or New England. And Pittsburgh's actually come around in the last couple of weeks. So appreciate everything you guys have been doing and checking those out. I did an NFL video. I'll do those every now and then too, just to keep everybody up to date on it. So Nathan Roth, very good question. I talked about that earlier. Everybody that you joined late, you can always go back and watch this on replay. It'll be up in a little while. I'm going to go record the podcast, so look for the Locked On Chiefs episode to hit later tonight with Matt Derrick's postgame. Chris and I will be on, and we'll have more for you. Won't be a podcast on Thursday, but we'll have others for you. So appreciate all of your time. Thank you guys for hanging out. I've covered most of these questions, so I'm going to call it a night. Cheers. Thanks for hanging out. I might do a live next week. Maybe that'll help. I'll let everybody know through the normal means. Don't take this loss too badly. There we go. Don't take this loss too badly. Enjoy yourselves, and I'll talk to you next time.